Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, as you know that we were not able to take the class on Thursday, and for other groups also this will be beneficial if I explain the transportation problem. So let me just explain, not very detailed, but in precise, what is the transportation problem and how do we apply the transportation problem. This is one of the operations research tool to solve the problem of routing and scheduling. So what happens is that you can see here in this, also here, when you look at this problem, you see there are many supply points and there are many demand points, the sources and the destinations. Now the company has choice to send the products from source 1 to destination 1 or 2 or to any, but each one of them will have different cost, and that makes the decision making difficult for the manager. And the main source or the main basis for decision is the transportation cost. The manager has to minimize the transportation cost. So that's the problem, so the manager will use operations research and apply the transportation method to solve the problem of deciding on the route, which route should be used, what quantity of the product should be sent from one place to the other to reduce the cost to the minimum. Now there are some main points to be remembered. One of them is that all the products are the same. So the requirements and the demand supply are same. So if water is produced here, water is consumed here in all the places. That's one point you have to understand. The product is the same. Secondly, you see here, we have to also ensure that all the products produced are supplied or consumed at different markets. So that's one basic assumption of the transportation problem. And when we understand this problem, we can now start solving the problem using the two methods. There are four methods of solving the transportation problem. These methods are modified distribution, northwest corner method, Vogel's approximation method, and the least cost method. So we are going to learn how to use the northwest corner method and the least cost method. So let's start learning the use of northwest corner method to solve the transportation problem and to find the minimum cost of transportation from the factory or the production units to the destinations or the markets or the warehouses. So let's understand the problem number 1, S1, in the notes which is there on eLearn. So you all have access to that note. Here is the problem 1. You can see here, first of all, let's understand that this is a table. And a table has got rows. These are rows and these are columns. These are columns. So the vertical is a column and this is row. In between all these are called cells. So you can see this is depot unit. These are the factories A1, A2, A3. Then the names of the depots are B1, B2, B3, B4, where the finished products will be stored. And here you can see this is stock, or this is the supply, the products which are kept for selling. Here is requirement, which is the demand. by the customers, obviously. Now inside, first of all here, the first point to understand in this table is that, obviously when we are taking a decision and there are two or more alternatives and we are applying OR, there must be some constraint. So here the constraint is that each factory can produce only a limited number of products. So A1 can produce 8, A2 can produce 10, A3 can produce 20 items only, not more than that. Less than that is possible. The second constraint here is on the demand side also. So there are only 6 customers for this product in B1 market, 8 in B2, 9 in B3, 15 in B4. So this becomes 2 constraints, one on the supply side and the other on the demand side, and then within this constraint I have to solve the problem. Now inside you can see there are some numbers written 2, 3, 5, 1, 7, 3. First of all, this is the number of the cell number. So there is no particular significance of this number except that this is the cell number. So how do you know that this is C11? We call it C cell 1 and 1, C11, 1 and 2, C12. So similarly, the numbers are written as A1, B1. So it's written 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. So this is called cell number, and cell number denotes the route from the factory A1 to market or depot B1, from A1 to B2. Within this cell is written 2. 2 means 2 is the amount, it's 2 reals to carry one product from factory A1 to market B1. 3 reals to carry one product from A1 to B2. 7 reals to carry products from A3 to B3. So this way all the costs are given. These are parameters, these are fixed values, they will not change. The company has told you that this is the money you have to pay if you want to send the product from this factory to this market. So now we have to find the minimum total transportation cost. The manager is free to send from anywhere to anywhere and any quantity to any quantity within these constraints. So now she has to decide what will be the minimum transportation cost. So the first question is, we can solve this problem using northwest corner method. And the first step, so in this method, both the methods that we will learn, the most important step is to first learn the steps in the method. So in the first method, first of all, what you have to check in both the methods, in northwest and least cost, you have to check whether the problem is balanced or not, and the problem balanced means the supply and demand are same or not. So if you look here, 8, 10, 18, 20, 38, and demand is 6, 8, 14, 23, 15, 38. So that means this is a balanced problem. This is a balanced problem. Let's move forward. Now the second step is to start with the cell. Select the first cell. So now look at the table here. This is the same table. Now all the other items have been removed from this table. Now we have to select the first cell. So the rule in northwest corner method, and that is why this transportation method is called northwest corner method. We select the first northwest corner cell. Northwest corner is here. This is the direction northwest, and we select the first topmost corner left side cell. Now after we have selected that this is the cell, what should we do? We will look at the demand supply side and the demand side. After we look at these two sides, we will write the lower number here. So you can see here, this is the cost in bracket, this is the lower number, 6 is the lower number, we keep it here, Once we keep it here, then the next step is to subtract the number you have written here from both supply and demand. So 6 became 0 and 8 became 2. 8 minus 6 is 2. Now we go to the next step. The next step is the same. Now in the northwest corner method, what we do, we will go to the next empty cell. And this one, once it becomes 0, this became 0, we will cancel this one and this one cancelled. So now this became cancelled. We go to the next step, next cell. Next cell is this one. Now next cell is this C12, that cost is 3 reals per unit. So we look at the demand side and the supply side. Now supply, you can see it became 2, right? Because we gave 6 to this cell, so it became 2. Now what will happen? We will look at the demand and supply. This became 2, this is 9, so this is 8. So what we will do, we will give the lesser value. We give 2 here. When we gave 2 here, it became 6, this became 0. Okay, so this step is over. Now we cancel this one and this one because it became 0. How will we go to the next empty cell? This is the empty cell. So when you go to the next empty cell, here down, again the same. You look at the demand and supply. The supply is 10, the demand is 6. You put 6 here, it became 0, it became 4. Now this became, since it is 0, this will be cancelled. Now these are the 4 empty cells. Now what we do, we go to the next empty cell on the right. So this is the next empty cell. Now look at the value. This is 4 and this is 9. We put 4 here. This became 5. This became 0. And when it became 0, you will cancel this one. This cell becomes cancelled. Now we are left with last 2 empty cells. We will go to the down, this one. When we go here, what we will do, we will look at the supply and demand. The supply is 20, demand is 5. We will put what? 5, the lesser number. When we put 5 here, what happens? This becomes 5. 9 minus 4, 5. So this becomes 0 and this becomes 15. So this became, right? This became 15 because 5 we have given here. This became 5 minus 5, 0. And this became 20 minus 5, 15. So this is over. This is 0 now. Okay, and 15 is here. 15 is here, the last cell. So we put 15 here. This also becomes 0. This also becomes 0. When all the cells, this is already 0. This is already 0. This is 0. This is 0. So all of them, all supply and demand are 0. We will say that the problem is solved. Now last point is to just calculate the cost of transportation. So these are the routes. A1 to B1 we have selected 6 into 2. A1 to B2 2 into 3. A1 to B2, A2 to B2 6 into 3. A2 to B3 4 into 4, 5 into 7, 15 into 2. All are written here. Now just total them: 12, 6, 18, 18, 36, 52, 87, 117. Saudi Riyals 117 is the total minimum cost, and this is the route through which the the products will be carried from the source to destination. Now let us go to the next problem solution, that is through least cost method. Same, no difference. The only difference is that instead of selecting this cell, here we start from the lowest cell. So here what you see, the same problem, S1, S2, S3. The destinations are D1, D2, D3, D4, and we have to decide these are the costs of transportation per unit, these are the supply and demand. So what we have to do, we have to select the route and the total cost. So these here we start from the least cost. So 10 and 10 are the least cost out of this. Now we have to decide which we should select. So the rule is look at supply or demand, whichever is higher. So here it is 400, it is 250 same. So we will look at 300 and 400. 400 is higher, we will start from here. So it starts from here. What happens? The same step, 250, 400. So we put 250 here. This becomes 0. This becomes 400 minus 250, 150. When it becomes 0, what will you do? You will cancel this, cancel this. Now the question is, which cell should be selected the next? The lowest cost. In the northwest, it was the next empty cell. In the least cost, we select the lowest cost. 11 is the lowest cost. Now same, look at the supply and the demand. Supply is 250, demand is 200. We put 200 here, this becomes 50, this becomes 0. Now go and select the next least cost, 13 and 13. So which one we should select? We look at supply. Supply is 150, here it is 50. Demand is 275 and here it is 225. So how will you select? We will select on the basis of what maximum we can allot. So here you can see 150 is what we can allocate. So 150 is more. So we select this cell, we write 150 here. So when you write 150 here, this becomes 0. This becomes 125. Right? So this becomes 0, this becomes 125. Now the next lowest cost is again 13 here. Now this 13, what happens? We look at the supply and the demand. We look at the supply and demand. This is 50, this is 225. You will write 50 here. When you write 50, this becomes 0, this becomes 175. Now we will again look at the lowest cost. The lowest cost now is 14. So we look at the lowest cost now is 14. So in 14, what happens? 125 and 300, which is lower? 125. We put 125 here, minus 125 from here. This is 125. This becomes 175. This becomes 0. So finally, let's see if more are left. Yeah, one more is left. 175, 175, and this is the last cell. We put 175 here. This becomes 0. This becomes 0. So now the rule, as we discussed in the northwest also, if all supply, all demand becomes 0, it means the problem is solved. So now the last solution is just write all the values of the routes here selected. So you can see all of them which are in red are the selected routes. And how did we select? Based on the least cost method here. So what we do now, 11 multiplied by 200, 13 into 50, 18 into 175, 14 into 125, 13 into 150, and 10 into 250. When you add them all up, it becomes 12,200. That is Saudi Riyals. 12,200. That is the total transportation cost. So this is how we solve the transportation problem using northwest and least cost method. And there are two problems which you have to solve, one using the northwest, the other using the least cost method. So this is a very simple method to solve the transportation problems, and it helps the managers a lot in saving time and also reducing the cost of transportation. So that is it for this method. We will start with linear programming in the next class after the midterm exam. So you solve the problems assignment. If you have any doubt, you can ask me on email or WhatsApp as you wish. Thank you.